Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here live from Austin, Texas. And I am excited today because this is our first time we're trying something new out. So, as you know, this is the time when we normally do patch notes. And for this week, we had looked at the stuff we were going to talk about, and we had some stuff we could have talked about, but we've been talking about a fair amount of stuff lately, and we decided to try out something new. For those who don't know, I've been doing this series called Streamer Stories on my channel, and the idea of Streamer Stories is we all have these stories of our life. You can think that the way we often remember our lives is through a series of stories, and we often tell these stories over and over again to different people and share them and share who we are, and they're a big part of who we are. And the idea was I would spend time talking to streamers and about some of the stories of their lives that brought them to where they are today. Of course, some of these stories are about Twitch and streaming, but some of the stories are about, growing up and what they did growing up and all that sort of stuff. Because I really think that a lot of times, who we are today so often is shaped by so many of these stories when we are younger. And so the idea was, by the way, let me see. Are we still in? I think we're still in emote only chat. So take a look at that because I only see emotes in chat right now. So I'm pretty sure we're in emote only chat. So I'll wait a second, see if that changes. But anyway, the idea is to go ahead and try and talk to streamers. I've done this on my own channel a bit, and we're trying this out on twitch.tv because we think a lot of the conversations are interesting to a much broader audience. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. There we go. We've gotten it off of emote only chat, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. We'll do questions at the end like we've done in the past. And I'm very excited for the first episode. I have someone interestingly that I only met just last week, actually. We hadn't met, surprisingly. But TheSushiDragon will be joining me, and I think we can bring him on stage now. And so Here is the TheSushiDragon. And so the TheSushiDragon is probably one of the most distinctive and creative streamers on Twitch because he's always trying to do something new and explore the boundaries of live streaming. And so I was excited to have him on. I think all of y'all will enjoy learning more about what he does if you don't watch him. And it really is kind of funny that, Sushi and I had not met till last week, and we were both in Austin for South by Southwest. And now this will be this will be the third stream we've done, and we did the panel at South by Southwest, which wasn't streamed on Twitch. So really the fourth thing we've done in, I think, I guess it's in 8 days. So it is, we've gotten to know each other well. We've enjoyed each other, I think, kind of two like souls. And it's been a lot of fun. So Sushi, why don't you say hi to the crowd?
Yes, hello everyone. Hi. I got this weird double camera thing because you can't have a TheSushiDragon stream without multiple cameras. But I love Twitch as in just making content, creating content. That's what I do. I experiment with a bunch of things. There's no such thing as anything that's way too weird. That's what I love about Twitch. It's community driven. It's not being produced by one man. And Dan, it is crazy how we only met for the first time. I love what you're doing. You're literally being boots on the ground kind of guy, just seeing what's it like creating, and then creating with you is it's another experience. You're really into the creating aspect, and that's really good to see in the space. I mean, if you have any questions on anything, I am willing to answer everything. Okay. Anything. I don't gatekeep anything.
No. I'll jump into some questions, but first, for a little bit of housekeeping, as always. So we are going to do questions at the end, and you can have questions for Sushi. You can also have questions for me about Twitch features. because one of the reasons we wanted to make sure we did something like this is it's always a good opportunity if people have questions about Twitch things. So as always, the way we're going to do it is put exclamation mark ask before your question. That makes it easier for folks to kind of see it, put it in a spreadsheet, and then I will try to get through as many questions as I can. Some of them can be Sushi, some of them can be for me. So do that as always. And now to kick it off, I want to start talking about before Sushi was a streamer. Okay, learn a little more about what led him to where he is today. So talk to us a little bit about your childhood. Where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like? That sort of thing.
Oh yeah, my childhood wasn't 20 cameras and green screens and all that. I was actually repressed as a creator. I had your classic father who kind of wanted me to stick with a safer job, doctor, lawyer, something that guaranteed money. Whereas I kept on leaning towards editing programs, film. I went to a camera
But not
store,
just
which
about
was Circuit
creative.
City at the
Sushi,
time.
you talk about where you grew up. If there's anything you don't like to talk about publicly, tell me. But like, where did you grow up?
Oh yeah,
Just talk about
I grew up in
where you grew up.
I
What was
grew
your
up in
childhood?
Hawaii. I grew up in
Okay.
Hawaii, and my childhood was very. I wouldn't say Hawaii is a very tech savvy place, but gosh, my childhood was bikes, jumping off cliffs in the islands of Hawaii because it's a small island. There's not a lot to do. There's not big freeways that go to the next town. I guess that's where the repression comes from, or the creative repression.
So
There's
which
beaches. It's very
island
relaxing.
did you grow up on?
Oahu. I grew up in Oahu.
Hawaii. Okay. And now what about surfing? Anyone who's from Hawaii, the question is, did you get into surfing?
I got into bodyboarding. I loved big waves. I love anything that was high risk. There was a stream I did with Fusli where we went to Waimea, and then she had a drone, and I ran into this huge wave and just body slammed it. And I love doing stuff like that. That just physically puts me in an adrenaline rush. So big waves, storms, those were all fun for me. And that was pretty much my childhood, just
But
exploring around town. We went,
did you not like to surf? I mean, you said you did body surfing. Did you split? Because it seems like if you're adventurous, you're active. It just seems natural that you'd be on a surfboard.
yeah.
Was that odd not to be on a surfboard in Hawaii, or
I
pretty
feel like
normal?
after doing it for like 10 years, you kind of want to see something. You kind of want to experience something new. Also, the amount of sunscreen I had to use. I
Hmm.
was so tanned. Um, and but yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was almost like I was always in vacation, just the warm summers and everything. But I wanted to creatively challenge myself, and hitting the beach every day, relaxing, just but it's kind of great for retirement, but for
Yeah.
like really ambitious ideas, I needed something else. So
So you're saying maybe I need to go
I,
there in a few years? What you're saying? Like in
yeah,
5 years, maybe I need to apply. Great for
it's
retirement.
great. It's great to slow down. I don't see you slowing down though. I see you still being physically active and wanting to travel. So as a kid in Hawaii, the Big Island or the main island, which is United States, that was crazy to me. I felt like I was in a different country. I felt like that was a whole different country. When I first moved after high school to the mainland, which is in California, I never experienced highways that big, that fast, that much, that much cars, that much people. So it was just a opening experience for me. I didn't travel a lot when I was in the islands too. I was just a
Hmm.
local Hawaiian boy.
Local one, but all right. So talk about your family. You started talking a little about your dad
Yes,
and what he wanted you to do. But what was your dad like?
my dad wanted me to become a doctor, and I remember we got into like an argument. I was like, I want to do creativity. He was like, no, artists don't make any money. I'm like, I didn't really care. The amount he cared about money made me not want to care about money. And I was like, I don't really care about money. At the end of the day, we're not going to take it with us. So I wanted to live life fulfilling, I guess, inside, in both the heart and the mind. And school was rough for me. I think it was ADD that made it hard to be a study person. I couldn't pass my SAT test. It felt like torture having to listen to a teacher the way they do it. I think I'm a visual learner, or I'm a do it learner. So I got to really do it, and then I start learning. I started learning electrical. I've started picking up all that kind of stuff really quickly after school because I kind of wanted to make stuff for stream.
So, well, you've talked about this. I know with me, you've talked about it, whether how do you think of yourself? You mentioned just then about ADD or ADHD.
Yeah.
When did you start like realizing this was something? And by the way, which of those two do you identify with, or both? And when did you start realizing this was part of who you were?
Um, Obviously, when I can't stick to one camera, that's one of them. But
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
couldn't.
say.
I couldn't. I got bored sticking to one perspective. Like I got bored sitting down in class listening to one subject, um, and it started affecting like my mood a lot. Like when I worked at various restaurants, I could like when I had to start cleaning the restaurant, I'm like, I go from super high energy to like, whoa, I don't want to do this anymore. So
When
I
did you
needed to find
realize?
ways to stimulate.
When was the label placed to? When did you realize and have a name for it and realize?
I
Oh,
know.
like what age were you?
When I knew how important college was, and I tried turning off all my distractions, YouTube, everything social. I disconnected and I studied straight for this science test. I studied a whole week straight because I knew how important it was. It was a lot of credits, a lot of money was in the line. I wouldn't have gotten my Pell Grant wouldn't pay for it if I didn't pass. So I was like, okay, definitely don't F this up. Don't go drink. I don't even go to parties in college. I didn't do any of that. Just like I stuck down and I read through the pages, 6 hours in the library. And then at the end of it, I remembered nothing. I was like, whoa, I didn't absorb any of this. And then I failed the
So it
test.
wasn't
And
until
then
college
I
that
owe
it
I owe
wasn't
my
until
college $5,000.
it wasn't until college that you said, "Oh, wait."
Yeah.
Like you didn't have a diagnosis in high school or something like that. You just got through. You dealt with it. It was just the way you were. Your parents didn't think, "Oh, he processes things differently. He should." But it was in college when you finally put it all together.
Yeah, well, that's
Hmm.
when I was like, okay, there's no excuses for me not to pass the science test. I just was not, my brain was not there. No matter how much I read each page and did everything, I couldn't answer the questions after reading it. I kept on going back and forth. And it's those kind of things are meant for like schools for folks with ADHD are different. Like you need on hands. I don't even know what's a good way for people with school for ADHD. Like this trade schools maybe.
Actually, no, no, no. Actually, it is. They do because it's as you said. You learn very experientially. This idea
Yeah.
that I need to put you in a chair, okay, and keep you in one place. It's like it's been shown
Yeah.
over and over again that actually no, that's not the way you want to do it. That in fact you need to engage them. You also need to make sure that they get up and do things. This idea of I think
Yeah.
that's one of the challenges that there are. There's this model of how you're supposed to learn, and then when someone doesn't fit that, we think the problem is somehow in
Is them.
the student, not in that
Yeah.
the way we are expecting them to learn is just broken.
I had a professor in the chat say the exact same thing to me. He was a professor in New York. He said, "Listen, you didn't fail the school. Now, don't think negatively of school. The school failed you, Stefan." I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not the bad guy. Yeah. So
Now, where'd you go to college?
SMC, Santa Monica College. Well, I did get accepted to because my SAT scores were so low, but my GPA was high. I had a 4.1. I graduated valedictorian. I had and that's all brute force valedictorian. It was all because my dad said, "Hey, if you don't do this, I won't support you." And I'm like, "Oh man, this is tough." So I just I kind of just brute force through memorization, English class. Anyways, um, I had a really good GPA, but realistically, my knowledge was very bad. Like when I took actual math assessment tests, SAT assessment tests, um, I didn't have much to going for me. So I went to SMC because they accepted anyone, essentially, community college. But I did get accepted at like a state school, but it was too expensive. Um, and that's it. That's my college. I didn't pass.
And so I suspect, how do you reflect on that now in terms of this identity? Because I think anyone who sees you stream and has met with you would think of you as someone
Yeah.
who is very smart, right? And that's
Very
how they would
sharp.
think about it. Very smart. In other words, that they
Smart.
would think
Oh,
of
okay.
you as someone who's really smart, right? You do all sorts of stuff with your
Mm-hmm.
stream. You figure out all sorts of stuff. So talk about
Mm-hmm.
that identity you had and how that affected you and how you needed to unlearn, right, some of those
Yeah.
models, that
Yeah.
were formed because of how where you could get into college and SAT scores and all that silly stuff.
I found, oh, that's a good question because I found my identity in art and creative expression. And the thing is, I'm not an actual artist at all. Like I can't paint, I can't play classical instruments. If anything, my identity came from anti-art because it's very abstract and there's no real pointillism to it. Like there's just what is this for? But if you can't explain it, it's probably art, right? And I sort
Yeah.
of created this new art form for myself, and it like live editing and directing plus acting plus performing, blending with it's essentially satisfying how my brain works, and that's why I switch cameras, I do characters, and all that. And that, yeah, I sort of became a product of the environment became the product of my mind rather than I became the product of my environment, because obviously the environment I was in wasn't healthy for me because I
And
wasn't
now,
going
do you,
anywhere, Dan. Like 25 years old. Yeah.
do you think of yourself as smart now?
Smart, wise, not smart, but wise.
Interesting, because my sense is if you look at your ability to figure things out, right, that
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
figure out how to make things work, right, you're in the top small percentage points in terms of figuring out how things work, and you describe that as being smart.
That to me came from experience, though. That to me that came from wisdom. Like I, as much as there was a time where I would do a lot of experimental things and it would fail, like quickly a lot. And now I know when things fail, I know why they fail. So I sort of have more knowledge on like how things work, and that's why I can keep up my still ambitious concepts without worrying about, like, okay, I don't know why it's working. And that's why I say
Hmm.
wise rather than smart. Smart would be like a programmer going like, oh, well, technically you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to use in a string array theory and Boolean. And I actually learned all that through Twitch. Like I learned what a Boolean is, which is true, false. One and a zero is an on and off. Essentially, when I was doing OBS, I was just doing on, off, on, off. I was just doing on and off. But then when I wanted to do effects that like fade in the camera or fade a background, it's more than just, and aware, like if I wanted to pop up chat right here and then have a background change but the background goes away but chat's still there, how's the computer going to know chat's right here without disappearing chat and the background? So state awareness, that's another thing.
It's interesting. I think one of the as you say, what you described of what you think of as smart. Because if I had to make an argument, smart is being, sometimes there's this model that smart is having lots of knowledge in your head or skills you've developed. And I actually don't think that's smart. That's storing a lot of information. I think smart is being able to figure things out. Like if you go back in time, you know, if you go back,
Yeah.
20,000 years, who were the smartest people in when we were, living in a very fundamental life? And it's the ones that could figure out where to hunt and figure out how to do things and figure out something
Yeah.
new. And interesting, I think that is mostly what smart is about, is being able to take novel information, make order of it, and figure out how to do stuff with that information.
Okay, therapist Dan. I'm starting to see where you're getting with this because I actually kind of know what you mean. And I didn't really think this wasn't a good skill because it wasn't really, didn't pay off in school.
It's not on the test.
And it
Tests
wasn't,
don't test this skill,
yeah,
because
right, yeah.
test your ability to absorb and store information.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I do have this. I do have what I guess considered smart is a way to see things differently, and like how everyone has Zoom cameras. I mean, like everyone goes on like a video conference and they blur out the background and they key it out
Yeah.
for privacy reason. That technology is all over the place, but I didn't see anyone using it as an invisible green screen. So I used to start my streams with all green screens, and now I can essentially go anywhere without a green screen, because if you use AI segmentation, which is what phones use now, your webcam uses, everything uses, but if you layer it twice and then put something in the middle there, it's essentially an invisible green screen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. All
So
right. So let's get to
I do
creating.
see things like that.
Yeah. So let's get to creating. Talk about the first thing you created and published on the web, and what was it? Was it YouTube? Was it like, what's your first memory of creating something and then sharing it broadly on the web?
It was making my friends laugh. Like, my first thing I published was a Photoshop of Seer, who has now become a streamer. Before we were streamers, and what did we do? I photoshopped him a photo, and I just loved manipulating things for no
Do you remember
reason,
what
just
you
because
posted it on?
yeah. I posted on MySpace.
MySpace. Okay.
Yeah.
You're aging yourself there now, Sushi. Or you were very young. It may be either you're aging yourself or you were
No.
showing you were very advanced for your
Oh
age.
no. No. Wait. I posted on Facebook. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Ah,
Facebook first. On MySpace was.
okay.
I remember this one time. Yeah. I messed with an HTML thing, but yeah. So I would just try to make my friends laugh before I could handle a public audience. I couldn't really handle a public audience as well either. I actually had a lot of anxiety, social anxiety. I had
Hmm.
this battery, the social battery that got depleted. So I was really reserved with my expression until I found Twitch. Twitch allowed me to connect a little bit more with the people that I want to watch me, rather than YouTube was like just shotgun to anyone, and anyone could come, and people who didn't like it would see it and comment it for some reason. Whereas it was more like broad. Whereas Twitch had the sense of community, and I was just focused on making what I enjoyed. So I was like, I'm an artist, guys. I do this art. You don't have to enjoy it, but if you do, follow it and subscribe. And it just slowly grew. Like, I was doing all this at like 30 viewers, and it was just slowly going higher, and I was just getting better at it. That's the thing. Like, I didn't care that I was putting effort, whether it's for 30 viewers or 100. That's still people giving time, and I was just, hey, I can put a little bit more time each day, adding more scenes, adding more characters, and to the point where it's a huge story. I would never run out of content.
Okay, so did you create stuff on YouTube before you started streaming, or did you kind of go straight from like videos and stuff like that to streaming?
Yes, I did create stuff on YouTube, and that's where I picked up a lot of my editing for Twitch. Was I edited my own videos before people had editors? Dan, YouTubers would make their own videos, write their own videos, film their own videos, and then have to have multiple camera angles and multiple characters, and maybe put on a wig to be the girl character or the guy character or the weird character. So I took a lot of those skills onto like Twitch and OBS, and I was just,
So
hey,
somebody asked here, which is a
yeah.
good way to phrase it. So tell us roughly, like, how long, like, think back to when you were, call it 20 to 50 ACCV, right? When was it that you were
Yeah, yeah.
20 to 50 ACCV, and where were you at that time? How long had you been streaming? And give people this sense of,
Yeah, yeah.
the shape of the curve of you streaming, and when it started to, how rapid was it as like, this is working, like I'm getting a lot of audience.
I was in a closet, Dan, straight up. I was in a closet because the noise complaints. I would go really loud. I would get really hyped after like a battle, a #1 battle royale game, and then actually, I was at Sears' living room, and I moved from there because I kept on hopping
And
around. We
just
were
for
on like the
folks
third
that may have
floor.
missed it, Sushi and Sia were friends in high school, or they grew up together. So you kind of
Best
casually
friends.
mentioned it, but yeah, so they were best friends growing up, and they're both, now successful streamers. Very interesting. Anyway, so keep going.
Yes, yes, and we did it without using each other for clout. That's the most wholesome part. We found success in our own creative ways, and I think you don't have to have you don't have to be yes men to be friends with someone, right? You can just
Mm.
have different creative opinions. Um, well, okay, so I will go off on a tangent. I'm
Give a
definitely
sense of that
in
journey.
that
Like, I
zone.
mean, how long were you small?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was it that started growing your channel?
Well, I didn't get Twitch affiliate for about a year of streaming. So I was streaming for a straight year, just learning the tag, building my scenes, finding out, I had to upgrade. Like I loved upgrading my own PC from communities online that taught you how to build a PC. And I was like, oh, this is kind of sustainable. You're upgrading your CPU when you get more. You don't have to start with a huge budget, and that kind of turned me off. Like when I saw creators like, oh, you need a guaranteed $12,000 computer to be successful, whereas
Mm-hmm.
I think most successful streamers started off with a webcam, and still to this day,
Mm-hmm.
webcam and a console. Um,
That's what I'm on
anyways, I
right now.
wanted to grow like that. Yeah, I wanted to grow like that, and so, I upgraded my space from to Sears living room. I moved to a cheaper place in California. I no longer needed to be in LA if I want to stream mostly remote. Then I went to Sacramento, and I got for the same price of a room, I got a whole house, got a garage. So I streamed from a
And now,
garage.
at this point, were you funding your life? Was this while you were in school that you were doing all this, or did you get
No,
some job that?
I just got a regular job, and I was happy with my regular job as long as it wasn't ruining my creativity or took anything out of me. So when I moved, I applied at Best Buy, and I was just like, oh, I just give me an easy, don't have to deal with customers, night shift job, so I can focus on my stream thing. So I was still doing that, and the funny thing is, I got called in for an interview while I was streaming, and I missed that call. So this was still, Twitch wasn't fully funding me. And then I was like, oh well, guys, I guess I lost that job, and it was at a sushi restaurant. That's the crazy thing. So
Interesting.
I guess
Were
it's all
you
destiny. Yeah.
When you started? Were you the Sushi Dragon, or did you start as like some? Did you start with your regular name and then change?
Oh, my my creator name was Stefan and Stefani, which was like two characters. The thing is, when I did YouTube and we would go to these like hangouts, these conventions, and I would show them my unique sketches, they'd be like, "Oh, this is so funny. Where can I find you?" Stefan Stefani, Steven. It's like they couldn't spell my name, Stefan. Then I realized, okay, that's pretty bad SEO that they can't find me on YouTube whenever I go out to these social events and no one can spell it. So I picked out word. Oh, I was inspired by in K-pop. There's this guy named G Dragon, but I didn't want to be another G Dragon. I wanted to be S Dragon, which was like Stefan Dragon. I was like, but Stefan still, I can't. No one can spell Stefan. So I thought, what's my favorite food? Sushi. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna be S Dragon. And then I was like, okay, someone's gonna ask what the S stands for. And then I said Sushi Dragon, because who knows what the G for G Dragon stands for in that K-pop world. Then Sushi Dragon was taken, so I did the Sushi Dragon. It now looks really aesthetic. It's right there.
That is nice. That is nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so now let's get to the stuff you're creating now. So, as I said, you're known for your distinctive things that you create. So, talk about some of the most distinctive things you've done on Twitch that you're like most proud of. Some of your streams that you think really jump out at you.
First one,
And you
I did
can't
one.
say I streamed with Dan the other day. That doesn't count.
Well, that's where I was trying to get to. A
Hmm.
place where I could just improv with someone without worrying about tech and just the person next to me gets into it really
We're
quickly.
gonna
But
get
my
to that
favorite
stream.
streams,
Yeah.
yeah, my favorite streams was when I was just straight up being basic and using a green screen. BMW, BMW, which is known for being a very clean brand. Somehow the creative team convinced me to be on their thing, and then we did this thing where I was pretending to drive in their car. So I asked them, "Hey, can you send me photos and videos of your car?" And I was like, "Okay." And then I put it on OBS like an overlay, so it looked like I was driving a car. And then so the background I made it so it moved, so it looked like I was going boom. Looked like I was like boom, driving the car and going, "Yeah, guys, I'm in this really cool BMW M2." I forgot what it's called, but the funniest thing I did was to make it look like I was driving through like air and roads. I had a leaf blower. Michelle, she had a leaf blower blowing in my mouth, going like, I'm like, whoa, this is a really great car and a great view. And it was just so funny. Chat was cracking up. So stuff like that, like making productions, it's sort of like scuffed special effects, like movie production, but just having
Mhm.
fun with it. Like it was just so funny. The clips were so funny. And doing stuff like that didn't require nothing but like a green screen and a leaf blower, and
Yeah.
then that
All right.
was a
So
fun one. I have tons. I could go on if you want me to ask more.
pick another one. Pick one more.
Yeah. There's a ton. I did one with Verizon, where I had like a Verizon concert, but like a stuffed inflatable dragon T-Rex thing just running across the warehouse, called the Verizon Dragon, back and forth. And I love using props. Just using props, doing a whole show, just to have fun with it.
Okay. So I think now would be a good time for us to share the video from our stream the other day. So I put together a short 3-minute video of our stream the other day. So just for background, Sushi and I decided to go to Iron Ford's gym. I had no idea all that we were going to end up doing, because I don't know. I don't know if I had seen any of your filters, because we did. Let's see. We did the South by Southwest panel, and I saw a few of your filters there, but I didn't know you did them
Yeah.
in your IR streams, right? And then we decided to go by Iron Ford's gym, and it was a blast. And we just hung out there doing lots of different characters. I mean, lots of people. So, Sushi, you want to set it up any more before we run the video of clips from the stream?
Yeah. I love how adaptable this setup was and the day was. Remember, we were planning to go to a lake on a boat with the drone, but then it was pouring down rain, and I was like, "Oh man, the thing we planned on stream is gone." And then we just immediately, in 5 minutes, we are like, "Hey, let's go to an Iron Forge," and he's like, "That'll sound fun." So we switched gears, went to
It
Iron
was
Forge. We didn't
interesting
let it ruin
timing,
our
because
day.
I was thinking of just going by Iron Forge to work out and say hi to folks, and you said, "Oh, let's go to Iron Forge." Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and I did bring a drone, but I couldn't use it, so I didn't want to switch to. We definitely got a rain check on. Figure literally, we gotta do a boat drone through the lake because the views are beautiful. But I went in, and then the setup changed, and now we were doing an indoor stream, but with the same setup, with the same tracking camera. By the way, there's no camera person. That's a robot. Follow me around.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and start playing this, and we'll talk over it a little bit.
Ready to lift some weights.
You see, he's getting
Look how realistic.
Oh my God, wait.
I love her expression. Look how fast it followed her expression.
This is
I know.
Okay, now you have to improv as each other. Okay.
Now we
Lightweight,
Yeah, Lakari. Cuco, that was Cuco, Lakari. They got into it really easy.
Is it? Let's go, dude. Dude, he's standing
Gen
on
Z
business.
Lakari.
That's gas. Oh, that's
Fire.
gas.
This one is scaringly realistic.
Yeah, yeah. The old filter was good.
Oh my
The
god.
Gollum filter.
The Gollum. You're not afraid of looking embarrassed.
Yeah, whatever.
This is so funny.
Whatever, man. Dan.
The reverb.
Dead going, man.
Congratulations. I turned you.
I got 2 bullets. I've got you, man. Don't you worry.
And when we were
I've
doing
got you
this,
back. I'm from the wild.
he had a screen that we could see ourselves on, but I couldn't. Only for a little bit did it give me the earpiece so I could hear the voice effects. I had no idea that they were doing all these voice effects. It was great.
We do here at Iron Forge Gym.
Yeah.
We've got the trainers here now. Lift, lift, lift. You got testosterone.
You gotta be a theater kid, right?
Now
Yes, I am.
You see,
I'm not a theater kid. Maybe it might have helped my confidence if I was a theater kid.
Happy, and then I sometimes get
About your gear getting all wet.
Actually, this year, not just me though.
And I would use it myself.
Yeah,
all
you
the
would.
time.
Do you?
I would use it all
He had a
the
character
time.
for
Do you
every
use
face.
any MIDI
You surprised even
controls?
me. You outquirked me again.
Yes.
Magical.
Were you like this when you were young?
No,
I like
No.
the laugh you do here. the baby filter.
When I switch it off,
laugh.
But we can keep in this for a little while, and then
it's
me a
interesting, like the comfort of doing all the voices and all. When I was like in high school doing theater, I didn't do all this stuff because I just wasn't as confident, and comfortable with myself.
Oh.
Dude,
Oh,
Dan,
man, don't take this off, man.
Well, what made you so confident now? Because you're a streamer?
Getting old. Getting old.
Dad, you're young.
Yeah.
Dragon.
No.
Yeah.
I'll answer
I
that
really
question
missed
when
out.
we're
That
almost
looks
done
like
here.
it was just so much fun, all y'all hanging out
Yes,
there.
you totally missed out,
Oh
Dan.
my gosh, it was.
I
tell
mean-
me what. Like if I had my favorite food, I guess I'd say barbecue.
My favorite.
This is such
what
a fever
favorite
dream.
restaurant is this barbecue?
Out for Dan and I. Dude. Can you simplify?
all I have to say is there's so many tabs on that.
Run.
I just
That's a great character you can do.
All right. For those
Dan's a
who want more
fantastic
of it-
actor.
And this is for someone in Twitch. I don't think I can post. Maybe they'll let me post a link. Automod is being checked by mods and has not been sent. So whoever's moderating, there's a YouTube video that I uploaded just recently that it's like a longer version of that has all the clips
Yes.
from that stream. So we'll see if that gets. Let's see. I've allowed your message. Happy chatting. Is the link in there though? I don't know if the link is in there. So if someone who's moderating pings me on Slack and you can put in a link, great. If not, that's fine. But going to your question, it's funny. I think it is something I was very conscious of when I went to college, and then probably for the first 5 years of college. Because, we all come out of high school and we don't know who we are and we're trying to figure out. And some people in high school, they just have their voice and they're naturally who they are. But I remember being very conscious about, building confidence in who I was and like the self-talk I did. I know I journaled a lot. And then I think that just developed as I aged because I think I've often talked about this, how we kind of need to program our brains because in fact, we're sent to these messages about who we are. It's kind of like what I said with, you with this identifying yourself as smart, right? Like we build these models of ourselves based upon how other people see us and how other people describe us. And we're always kind to acknowledge, and then that gets kind of baked into what's called our system one thinking. Okay. And that's just the way
is it
we,
work?
think of ourselves. And what you need to do is reprogram your brain so that you slowly actually undo these models, and build different models of who you are and who you can be and what you can do.
They say the older you get, the harder it is to change your mind. Were there actual things recently that you feel like you are reprogramming? Because the neurons in your head are like a muscle, and the more it's more used a certain way, very hard to. It becomes less
I actually
elastic.
think I heard that they showed that is it is certainly the case that there is increased plasticity when you're a young child and in high school, but
Oh,
but I think they've heard that there's still a great. It is that there's a lot of plasticity, but neurons are growing at all points. In this model, that it's hard to do it. It's maybe a little bit harder from when you were learning a mechanical skill, but I think they've said that it's kind of not true. That in fact, the ability to build new neurons and build new connections
oh,
continues as you age.
oh. What about like habits? That's why people have a hard time breaking bad habits because it's.
Well, no, we all have habits. This goes to this issue of we are creatures of habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is true in general. I mean, kids are creatures of habits. Look, if I tried to if anybody listening to this has a 14-year-old child and they try to break that child's habit of watching TikTok, it's going to be really hard. Okay, even though they have a very plastic brain, it's hard to get your kid to
Right.
stop watching TikTok, right? It's hard to get. In general, we build these patterns and habits in our lives, but we can reshape them. I know I often tell the story of I never thought of myself as a runner, and 6 years ago I started running regularly, and now I've for
Oh.
6 years I've run at least 10 miles a week. But I was never my mind. I was like, no, I'm not good at it. And so I think a lot of that is just kind of BS, and that there's all sorts of things that you can change as you age.
Oh. Well, yeah, guys, my bad. Fake news I'm spreading, huh?
Right.
Thanks for
Well, no,
correcting me. I love being corrected.
it is commonly, but I think they've been learning that it was over talked about in terms of our ability. There's this one book, A Growth Mindset, that goes on and on about how important it is to have a mindset of your ability to adapt and change, and that so often this idea of not changing is because we tell ourselves we can't change, and just the act of telling yourself that you can't change stops you from changing when in fact you can.
Oh, I can change. I can change. Okay.
You can change.
That's really
You can
good to
change.
know.
All right. So let's talk about where you want to go with your streaming. You're talking about this a lot with micro production. So talk some about
Yes.
how you see what you're doing and where it's going.
I came up with micro streams because of my panel I did at South by Southwest with another really great guy who believes in micro productions. Because I feel like people think there's only two spaces. There's the low effort, one camera gaming space, and then there's the high effort, multi crew, $100,000 productions for ESPN and live productions. And then I'm like looking at it and I was like, I don't really want to do either of those jobs. Like, I don't want to admin 20 employees. And I don't want to just be stuck with one game because a game could just fall off. And then I came up with maybe something called micro productions, where it's not just I'm the one doing it, but other creators are doing this. And you talked to me about empowering other creators and showing them how some of this technology can be used practically. And I'm sort of like the walking demo because if I can't do an 8-hour stream with my micro production, then who can, And this is someone with the ADHD that can't handle certain things, but I think micro productions are what I see in the future of Twitch because it's a sustainable middle ground where you're still being the producer because every streamer here on this website and everyone that starts stream on their own is a qualified self-producer. So just take it up a notch, just a little bit, add more cameras, add some dynamicness, add maybe a story. Start telling a story. Start adding a character. Make it last longer than what people believe is a short shelf life of content creating. Like, I don't really agree. Ludwig likes to say, I only got 5 years left with him. And I'm like, dude, I want to do this when I'm like 70. I want to be the master live editor. I'm just like, camera on, understanding everything. And I'm like a professional live editor or micro producer. So I don't see myself like losing appeal as I got older. In fact, people get older. It's the logic of life. And those people who are watching now, where are they going to go? They want to go to someone who are growing with them.
Yeah, I think one of the things that jumped out when we were streaming and doing things is this idea that there's really a continuum of sophistication, right? And you can go all the way from a phone on a gimbal, very simple, right? And I put myself in the middle because I'm like have one camera, and then I was hanging out with you, and you've got 2 or 3 cameras, and you're jumping around. And for those, do you have your controller close to you right now or not?
No, I don't have it, but it looks like an accordion.
Yeah, and
A
he has
mini
all
accordion.
these buttons in there that play different chords, and so it's actually perfect for him. By the way, they just posted the link to that YouTube video that I had shared. But it's funny as we sit here now. I've been hanging out with Sushi, but I didn't realize how the extent to which he can't sit still because we were moving around and doing stuff, and it's hilarious. He has to change his camera every 5 seconds. I'm forcing him to sit
Trust me.
still, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reason it's funny. He was showing me how his camera can track him, and I was like, okay, that's good. But a lot of times I'm sitting in a chair. I don't need something to track me, and I realized no, Sushi really needs someone to track him because he can't stay in one place.
Yes, that and then I think sitting in front of a camera has become profane and ordinary for people. But imagine we can walk and still see where we are and just have inner monologues with ourselves, and kind of like when you're having a conversation with someone in real life, you're not just sitting in front of a computer looking
Right.
at each other. You're walking around, you're throwing something in the fire. If you ever go camping, you're doing something, you're talking. Like, we had a fire out here at Sear, and you're just doing all sorts of stuff. And I love being able to just, be human. I think I want to capture being human, Dan. That's my future of streaming, rather
Yeah.
than feeling like an actor or a producer. I just want to create tools that can capture things candidly while also still creating entertainment.
Yeah, it's a perfect example because you're sitting there and you're moving around, right? In
Yeah.
general, if for any reason I'm going to move around, I come back here, I move around, and now you don't really see me very well, right? Because
Yeah.
the camera just gets further and further away. Okay, and of course,
Yeah.
nobody makes a movie like that. And I think it creates when you just have a static background. Right now, everything behind me is static, right? It kind of relates to one reason why gaming is so popular on Twitch, because it creates some dynamic variance and some visual stimulation, right? And the real world has all
Yeah.
sorts of visual stimulation, but it's just if you have a fixed camera view, it's hard to track and keep an eye on folks. And when you've got your camera, then you can get a much better product.
Yeah, and micro productions to me, I see you like helping cameramen like shoot for 8-6 long form. Like hiring a production camera guy to shoot 6-8 hours is very difficult. You don't do that for film. But for live streaming, if you want them to do that, that's almost inhumane. So I don't mind having a camera person, but I love them using AI tools to help them make their job easier. So like, oh, okay, let me turn on AI while I rest my back or something, or set this down, and then they can take over, and then we can still do the shot, and
Now,
then come back and take breaks.
now the tracking that you have on that camera, does it only control the gimbal or does it also control the zoom?
It doesn't control the zoom.
Okay.
That there are tracking cameras that can control the zoom, and I really want to do that. I do have a tracking camera that does control zoom, but the quality is just slightly less, different.
I do think having Zoom, that's one thing that for when I do IRL, like now I don't, unlike Sushi, I don't have somebody carrying the camera. Luckily, he has someone that carries the camera
Hey,
when we've been running around.
look, I'm doing this myself. Look at this. I can carry this tracking camera myself.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm going to be doing this. This is because whenever there is someone, it's usually when I'm collaborating. Essentially, this is a two-player setup. I like to go through IRL with two players, and then if I'm doing one player, I just use my backpack, and maybe I might use this occasionally because I can just set this down. I can just set this down whenever I'm done with it. But yeah,
Right.
there are ideas for everything. It's modular.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to go with the question that I've asked to a variety of streamers. I'm just curious. If I use the phrase, what is the magic of Twitch? So to you, what is really special and distinctive about Twitch?
The magic of Twitch. You can be yourself and find viewers that vibe with it. I think they call those communities, Dan, and that's not something. That's something I see a lot of websites try to replicate. But you guys got something on lock. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the emotes or the inside jokes. I mean, at the end of the day, I still want to go past the inside jokes, but I still love that there's a core lifeblood on Twitch that I think is something that can't be replicated yet.
It's interesting. That's one thing about live because, while people may be nervous in front of a camera, okay, but the reality is we all live our life in the real world, right? And you can get over that, and then you can, as you say, just be yourself. And that interesting. That I'm going to switch now to questions, and we don't have a ton of questions in the spreadsheet. So I know some folks have asked questions, but they didn't put exclamation ask. That may have been missed. So I'm going to keep an eye on chat, and we'll do questions. But I'll grab one that's here for you, Sushi, which I think is a really good one. With ADHD, is it hard not to lose track of the bigger picture, like getting too focused on a minor detail? And this is from NeHX.
Yes. One symptom of ADHD is difficulty abandoning task, and I had to really self-reflect on myself on that because I'd be stressed out if there was a project coming up, and then I worked really hard on this one effect or this one bug, and I couldn't move on to the next thing. And I tell myself, okay, I'm going to do 10 more minutes of this. If I can't figure it out, I'm going to just let it go. Don't let it bother me, and then move on to the next thing. So moving on is definitely a difficult thing of not seeing the bigger picture. I think there was a time where I was streaming at South by, and there was just people everywhere talking. What is that? What is this? What is this? I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is actually getting difficult. And I asked this cameraman guy, he's like, hey, what's your advice when things get overstimulated? And he said, be present. I'm like, so I just breathed, and I turned off what I need to do later, what could have been done, and I turned all those things off, and I just focused on the now, be present. And I'm like, and that fixed a lot. That fixed a lot of, social anxiety at the time when I was having, there was just so much noise in my brain.
All right, here's another one that I say. What is the most unconventional, and this is from Desert Ice, what is the most unconventional advice you would give your younger self?
Dad advice, the one I just gave. But I would focus. It's hard because I didn't know what was going on.
I'll give an answer while you're thinking, and then you can. My advice is seek failure. Try to fail. That our biggest challenge is We don't want to fail, and we have this idea of not failing. And often what that means, as opposed to trying hard, it means we avoid doing things that could lead to failure. I remember, I don't remember where I heard this, but one parent told me, they said, or a kid said this when they were adult. They said, every day when I came home, my dad used to ask me, tell me something you failed in today. And that was the question he asked of their child every single day. Tell me something you failed in today, to build the mindset that failure is okay. And I think this is a real issue today with parents, because actually we instinctively try to shield our kids from failure and from sorrow and from pain. And the reality is that the old phrase, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Experiencing pain is part of life. Don't try to protect yourself from experiencing pain. Embrace uncomfortability.
Yeah, I think I got a lot of my anxiety because I wasn't allowed to fail. I remember I unironically cried when I got a B on my math test. And the teacher was like, "No, it's okay." I'm like, "No, it's not okay." Yeah, that wasn't like that was like straight from a movie, just crying because I didn't get an A, and that was just mostly because of fear. So, my advice I would give my younger self is not to also like to express yourself with people that you trust, and um, what was the other one? Not to take everything personally, and yeah, just socialize.
Okay.
We're social creatures.
From Yes Please. You're a great improver, but what are your thoughts on doing semi-scripted content with others? I could imagine you doing incredible player theater style thing that feels super immersive.
I'm actually a horrible improver. Dan, I don't know if you saw me from that last collab with Everything Now show. You killed me there. I'm just like, I can't compete with this guy. And I was just quiet the most of the time. But yeah, because my mind blanks out quite often. And I feel like there's this echo sometimes that makes me not come up with things. And you see me go like, yeah. And I kind of like that I made my own show based off that awkwardness. It's sort of like this weird Eric Andre stuff. That's why I love Twitch. Like, I can be my thing and turn into a show. Like, if I'm awkward like that and I'm doing interviews and I'm just like socially awkward, I'm just like, so, and then I would activate a cricket effect. That's the thing drawing a blank. I emphasize on just keep doing stuff like that, and you grow more confidence in your insecurities, and your insecurities turn to confidence, and it's like reverse psychology. But when you said, I actually forgot the question. Oh yeah, semi-script. I love semi-scripted stuff, structured stuff like this. I would love to do that. So yes,
Great.
my thoughts. Go for it. Tell a story. Storytell for the chat.
All right. Another one from Shaolin Sherlock. Biggest regret in streaming, and then biggest success or win in streaming.
Biggest regret? I think if you really have a big regret, you didn't learn something. You know, as Dan said, seek failure. Anything that could be looked at, studied to me as a regret was actually, you don't know how much I learned into self-discovery through said regret. So I don't really have a big regret unless someone got hurt, and that hasn't happened. But even then, live and learn. Then there's biggest success, you said?
Yeah.
I think success for me came over time. So my biggest success was just going through those kinks, those troubleshooting day in, day out, not knowing if it was even a solvable problem. Not even knowing, like, I was like, there was definitely doubts where I was just, when I was building this backpack, I'm at my 6th version of it. And I was like, maybe there's a reason no one's made a live editing backpack yet. Because there was grounding issues, there was audio issues, there was program issues. And I was just like, you know what? One thing at a time. So I just knocked out one thing at a time. You should have a list of things that you're knocking out, so you're kind of knowing what journey you're on, and make it more of a journey than a destination. Definitely, that's my biggest advice, is document it.
All right. Well, we're right at 1 o'clock, and I figure it's good to be.
Oh, it's over.
finally-
Wow, it's 1.
We could have
Thank
kept
you,
going,
Dad.
but I'm gonna. There's something in the chat here that I think is a good way. Is Le Philippine says sushi dragon without effects seems weird. So I think this is a first. This is a first. We have a whole hour-long stream of sushi without any effects, and he had to carry it all on his own without any effects. So
Well, I had
that
camera
was-
switches.
Yeah, but that's not really effects. That's just camera switches. All right, well, Sushi, thank you. This was lots of fun. I hope everyone enjoyed
Yeah.
this. We're going to try to figure out how we, to the extent we work this in for other streams, and how we work this in. And sorry
Twitch.
if I did not get to your question, but there'll be lots of opportunities. And I just want to say, looking forward to doing more streams with Sushi.
Let's
and
go, Twitch.
ahead and follow.
Yes, I want to go on a boat, fly some drones. I'm still honing that on.
Oh, that's great. Sushi, we're going to do a stream where Sushi's going to come help me deck out my van, which I think that should be fun. And then I can bring him whitewater kayaking.
Oh, don't know about that one. I'll save the kayak. Dan's always up for anything. I appreciate that. I'll take you up on
Yes.
some of these offers.
Need to scare you a little. All right. Thanks all. Thanks for being here.
Bye, guys.